Well, hello. Before I get started into the juice of today's episode, I wanted to check in. Have you registered to join us for the upcoming 7-day practice series, Speaking with Impact? Over 7 days, 7 emails, 2 live coaching sessions, I'm going to show you how to deliver a memorable message in any environment. Small meetings, stages, reels, social media, wherever, so that people listen and take note. I think this is the foundational piece to speaking with confidence and authority, and I'm really excited about this new 7-day practice format. So if you haven't registered yet, then the link is in the show notes, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. With that, welcome to another episode of Speaking with Confidence with Kat Matson. Yes, I'm Kat, and this is the show where I teach you, humble leaders, impact-minded leaders, business owners, public servants, and fellow corporate hippies, how to speak with authority, confidence, in authenticity, oh my goodness, authenticity, and with impact, so you can contribute to the conversations that matter to you and make your desired impact. Now today we're talking about how to speak with impact. How do you be heard? How do you be remembered? And how do you be taken seriously? How do you be taken seriously? Now, over the last few weeks, I've been sharing themed episodes that have come from the responses to over 2,000 people who have told me why they want to speak with greater confidence and authority. And this is what it really comes down to. When I think back to my professional, I'm going to say lows, when I sat in rooms of other business owners looking around going, why are they successful and I'm not? Why are they so confident and I'm not? Or when I sat in big meeting rooms in the public service wondering, I'm highly intelligent, experienced, I'm here for my expertise, like my role is here to provide advice, but I'm not being heard, I'm being ignored. The frustration was quite simply this deep sense of I'm impotent, I'm not making an impact. And I can't make an impact. It doesn't matter how smart I am, how clever I am, how insightful I am. I can't make an impact unless I can make myself heard. And so this particular topic, speaking with impact, is really at the heart of why I do everything that I do. Because when I talk to people and they say, oh, Kat, I really need to work on my speaking because I get really nervous. And I go, well, why is that a problem? Well, because I don't like feeling nervous. Yeah, but that's fair. But why do you want to speak up? Well, because I've got really good information that I want to share. I want to change the world. Or when I speak to people who say, oh, I ramble, I've got verbal diarrhea, I data dump, and I just lose authority. I say, well, why is that a problem? And they say, well, because I've spent all of these years doing research. I've spent all of these years building up my authority and my intelligence and my experience and my expertise. And now I can't contribute it because I can't speak in a way that has me be heard. So when I talk about speaking with impact, I don't mean speaking in a way that slaps people round the head. I mean speaking in a way that has you be heard. I mean speaking in a way that has you leave a conversation thinking and feeling, I made a difference. Things are moving forward. I've contributed to the conversation. I've contributed to a decision. And here's the thing. Even when a decision doesn't go your way, even when, because we live in a democratic society, even when a decision is made that is against what you were recommending, that decision, that outcome, we can generally sit with if we know we were heard. It's actually not about always being agreed with. It's not about command and control. It's about knowing that we mattered. It's about knowing that our voice contributed, that our experience, that our presence contributed. So today's topic is very philosophical, but also a reminder that this is why. This is why you get so frustrated when you can't make yourself heard. Now, one of the things when I do my little online research to kind of figure out what people are looking for when it comes to this, I often see solutions like just be more assertive. Just be more assertive. In fact, there's assertiveness training on every corner. Here's the problem. Assertiveness isn't the issue. And in fact, a lot of the time, particularly in maybe contentious environments or where you are really having to advocate over the long term, being assertive can actually work against you. I would also argue that for most of us, I know for me, if somebody says to me, be more assertive, that feels so ridiculously uncomfortable. That feels so ridiculously uncomfortable because what we often equate with assertiveness is being louder, being more polished, being more finessed, being more charismatic, thumping the table. And that's not our style, right? That is not our style. And in fact, I don't think, no, I'm actually just casting my mind back. There has not been one time in my life where I have influenced a decision, where I've informed a policy by thumping the table or being assertive. I've been authoritative. I've been informed. I've facilitated my listeners on a journey, but I've not been assertive. So speaking with impact does not come from being louder. In fact, speaking with impact comes from a combination of things. It comes from being relevant. It comes from contributing to the conversation at the right time. It comes from intentional delivery where you've really stepped into the shoes of your listeners and asked yourself, well, what's in it for them? What are their agendas? Because let's face it, we're all listening to that radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? And your listener is tuned into that radio station just as much as you are. And speaking with impact requires that we actually ask ourselves, well, what's in it for them? What's their position on this topic? Why do they care about this topic? What are the risks that they're facing if they make the wrong decision? What are the objections that they're likely to have? What are they dealing with the stakeholders around them? Who are they having to report up to? All of those things. So when we talk about intentional delivery, we're not just talking about the words that we use, we're thinking about the messages that perhaps we've planted over time, like we've been seeding over time. It's about meeting them where they're at and taking them on a journey, not just slapping them around the head with our righteous arguments. And I mean, I've been doing this work now for more than 5 years. And when I think about what it takes to speak with impact, yes, it's easy for me to talk about these theories. It's easy for me to talk about the frameworks and the techniques, but they take practice, right? I mean, everything that I teach came from a very specific time in my life where I was Chief Digital Officer for Brisbane, not in the technical sense. I wasn't mapping the IT systems for Brisbane, but I was responsible for leading and championing and advocating for the digital transformation of the city's economy. And as such, I was sitting in rooms with senior private sector leaders. I was sitting in rooms with political advisors. I was sitting in the room with politicians. And I noticed that even though I had been hired for my expertise, I was being ignored. And what I worked on was I went back to my very, very, very early days of facilitation and communication training. And I asked myself, well, why am I not being heard? And the reason that I wasn't being heard was because I wasn't meeting the listener where they were at. I wasn't taking into account the fact that they need to manage so many other stakeholders around them. And I wasn't giving them my insights. I wasn't giving them my experience in a way that was not only digestible by them, but repeatable by them. If you want people to take on your message, they need to be able to explain it to the next person. And if they can't, then they're not going to take it on, because they don't want to risk looking the fool if they can't articulate your idea. And so when I teach this, it comes from lived experience, like really lived experience of practicing this in those environments. The ripper, like is in the good news, is that speaking is a skill. Speaking with impact is a skill. It's not a talent. It's not a talent that I was born with and others weren't. It is a skill that I have learned, that I have practiced, that I have finessed. And that's why I've created this new program, the Speaking with Impact 7-Day Practice Series, because I want to give you the opportunity to practice and to be present to some of these frameworks without the pressure of having to stand on a stage, without the pressure of having to do a board presentation and test whether you've got it. It's more, I'm going to say, the micro moments, the day-to-day moments. How did you handle that conversation? How did you handle that meeting? How did you reframe your own thoughts so that you could meet the listener where they're at? So the 7-Day Practice Series is just that. 7 days of quiet, pressure-free, real life practice where you're supported by me every day, to just show up slightly differently. Not take on some massive pressure situation, just show up slightly differently in your day-to-day life. Because what I know 1000% to be true is that speaking with impact is a skill that can be learned. And how do you learn a new skill? You learn it by practice. So if 2026 has some goals for you around career progression, business growth, making yourself heard, being more visible, being less invisible, and they're not necessarily the same things. If you have a message or an idea or a cause that you really want to make progress on this year, then speaking with impact, the ability to speak with impact, will be your most valuable professional skill. So I would love, love, love to see you in the 7-Day Speaking with Impact Practice Series. It's just going to be delicious. It really is. And I promise it's going to be safe. There are no scary stand up and embarrass yourself moments in this series. So we kick off on Tuesday, the 27th of January, and we run for 7 days. So we'll run from Tuesday through to the following Monday. You'll receive an email from me every day. Some of the emails will have a video, a really short video lesson. Others will be email only. And we'll also have 2 coaching calls, one on the Thursday and one on the Monday, where you can ask and get all of your questions answered, and where I'll offer additional coaching building on all of the lessons that have come through in the emails. I want to be very clear too that this is not a time demanding commitment. The lessons that I send out every day, you will be able to do as you go about your day. If you have a conversation with anybody that day, you'll be able to practice the techniques. And everything's really tight and short for you to absorb, because I know that we are busy, particularly that week. You know, it's the first week back at school. It feels like it's the week that everybody finally gets out of holiday mode and into real work mode. So I know that we're busy. So it's not about giving you more to do. It's something that literally happens during your day. So I would love for you to come and join us. It's completely free. It starts the 27th of January. And yeah, it's just going to be a special kind of magic. It really is going to be a special kind of magic. So join us for that. And also, if you have been listening to this episode or any other episode and kind of go, God, yeah, I really do need to work on my speaking skills. I really want to be better. Then please follow or subscribe on whichever platform you're currently listening. It means that you get the next episode without remembering to come back to me. And it also gives a little signal to the universe, also known as the algorithm, to share this podcast with other people. And if you've been listening and thinking, Kat's right, this is exactly where I get stuck. I've got all of these ideas, I have all of this insight, but I really struggle with being heard. I give them too much detail. I freeze when I'm put under pressure. I don't know how to kind of manage the objections or deal with the arguments, or I don't know how to deal with people when they interrupt me or they talk over me. Then come and join us for the 7-day practice series. There is no doubt that there are biases against women communicating. There's no doubt about it. And we're not going to fix those. We're not going to fix those tomorrow. It doesn't mean that we can't make ourselves heard. And the more we practice, the more we embrace the fact that this is who we are and these are the situations that we operate in, the more we can be effective, effectual, and impactful despite the biases and make our contributions. So if you'd like to join us, please, the link is in the bio, or just head over to impactfulpresenters.com. So with that said, I'm looking forward to seeing you in the 7-day practice series. And if not, I look forward to seeing you again next week for another episode of Speaking with Confidence. In the meantime, here's to confidence and here's to impact. I'll see you soon.